I,
Yes, they did. I even have a video here for it later. Jon
oh,
Levi.
absolutely. We can bring it up anytime.
Okay, well, let me get that together. Go ahead and take it away for a minute.
Okay, I'm just going to remove that. Yeah, excuse me, my voice is breaking a little bit. I have been working outside and everybody's mowing their lawns, and I inhale that today, it seems like. But I am getting to the point where I really want some answers. And if I'm going to stand for any revolution, it's going to be a total revolution of truth when it comes to our education of where we've been, what we have, and where we're going. And take it away, Lisa.
To show some stuff in St. Louis, the 1904 World's Fair. And this was something I'd always wanted to explore. And here's a little look at the festival hall. And here, this is interesting. They're giving us the cost. So 1 million, 1 million flat to build this baby. And just really fascinating, always the same style. I mean, if you were building these kinds of buildings, clearly you have unlimited resources. Why not try something else? But no, always the same style. And what an amazing picture. Almost looking unreal in some kind of way. But what we do notice is weathering. That's what always gets me. Is these are supposed to be temporary, and yet they look weathered. And here we have the Louisiana Monument, height 100 feet, and a real beauty. And everything that we're going to be looking at is supposed to be temporary. And the story is really fascinating. Not sure how much we'll get into the story today. I really just wanted to share it and just show it to you. We've gone over these stories over and over. It's always the same. And here again, just really seeming weathered, not seeming new, and just way too intricate to be temporary. Just these statues are monsters.
I want to jump in. You see, I'm using, like you said, the mute on the StreamYard instead of my mic. But in order to do that, I have to kind of pause that, come over here, and what have you. But I wanted to let people know we will put the links in here. This is Jon Levi, Jon, new word, Levi, YouTube channel. And he doesn't necessarily conclude, he doesn't come to any ironclad conclusions, but he gets people to thinking and he's amazed at the beauty and it doesn't fit in with the era. Like you'll see horses and buggies and so forth with this backdrop of something, as he says, glorious. Like even the Mormon tabernacle out in Salt Lake City, it's just wild. I can play a little bit more of it if you want.
Please do.
Okay, here I go.
And the Palace of Electricity cost 415,000. Only 415 for this one. Really beautiful. And again, we're not just talking about the building, we're talking about the statues, the waterways. Just the waterways alone, I would put a price tag of this, even for this time. But regardless, here we have the Palace of Education and Social Economy. Again, it's not just the building, it's everything around it. Just way overdone for some temporary fair. The Palace of Liberal Arts. I mean, just a couple of these may have sufficed for whatever was going on, seeming like the most boring World's Fair ever. Just people walking around and not really looking very amused. And this is just a beauty. The Palace of Varied Industries, 650,000. Varied Industries, not even a specific designation. similar to saying the random building. And here we have the Palace of Machinery, 1,000 feet by 500, cost 510,000. Maybe that's a three. Just amazing and looking weathered and very untemporary. Beautiful. And
See, I didn't even know until fairly recently that these World's Fairs, the buildings were temporary, supposedly. I had no idea until I started to go down different rabbit holes. And also, while I have everybody, I need to let you know that just because I might garner information from a particular person on YouTube or a writer doesn't mean that I agree with everything they've ever said in their lives or am on board. I just take what resonates and leave the rest. I think people are so used to this choice of believe it or don't believe it, the two choice thing.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yes, glean what works for you because everybody here probably has a divine message for you. You just got to be open to hear it, and you'll find it sometimes in the most unlikely places.
Yes, exactly. Like, I think this gentleman refers to the world rather than, going on. Some people jump around and say flat earth or, whatever. I think he just calls it a realm. It's sort of
I see.
a generic term as to not cause a lot of trouble because that's another thing we'll get into another time. I mean,
Well, I am fascinated, especially with the World's Fair in Chicago back in the very late 1800s. It was called the White City because they just like this they built so-called temporary structures and canals and all these things that ended up staying. Now they said it was under the premise that there were so many designers and engineers and, builders in Chicago that they were trying to outdo each other to show off their skills because that was the big boom. And to this day, Chicago has some really fascinating buildings.
well, the state houses in most of our states seem a little ancient to me as well. I just see things in a different way now. It doesn't mean I believe everything I'm
That,
told or whatever, but it just opens my eyes to thinking. And to me, I feel that it challenges my gray cells, and I need all of that I can get.
well, no, I totally see that you're theorizing that some of these buildings have been around a lot longer and they just keep building new Walt Disney stories over them
Yes, and
to
actually,
fool us that they were oh no, they were just built a couple of years ago,
right.
temporary.
And at first, I didn't know how they'd be able to
Pull
get
it
away
off.
with yeah. But then when I think about maybe a cyclical event having to do with this electric universe theory, I don't know. Who knows? But I can remove this if you want to move on to something else because
Oh
I'm
no,
going to.
this
You want to keep going? Okay,
it's
I'll,
fascinating.
I'll go back to it.
and, just not a single person on this particular day. And really looking like stonework or block work. This does not look like some kind of plastering, as they tell us. This seeming like metal and amazing antiquitech, probably mercury filled bowls. And really, the building's looking almost exact.
I'm sorry to pause again, but I wanted to let people know when he talks about antiquitech, I think he's talking about like the another theory they have is that a lot of the spires and whatnot, and even fireplaces in these old buildings, were maybe gathering free energy from the ether. And
Oh,
so, yeah, they were more like power stations, like even old cathedrals. And there's also a lot of research pertaining to the pipe organs and how they could have been healing centers and they were just repurposed into these giant cathedrals like St. Paul's in New York and I believe that's the name of it and stuff like that. So I just wanted to jump in, and it takes me a minute because it just does. Okay, I'm going back.
Exactly like the buildings in the Chicago World's Fair and the San Francisco Pan American World's Fair. Here, the Palace of Arts, and just a monster. I mean, every level doubles the price of the building, and we're talking about a temporary event. Build it half the size. That would be adequate. And the Palace of Manufacturing, another 720,000 merely. And the Palace of Mines and Metallurgy, 500,000. And again, these bridges and waterways. There's no way to build a temporary bridge like this. I mean, this is the real deal. And in some cases, the last things left standing. I'm not sure. Some of these may be temporary, but not seeming like something we would build for temporary usage. Just way
Wow.
overdone
It's
and
that's
way over the
really
top,
cool. Look at
more
those
than anyone
buildings.
would expect
It is.
or
It's
require.
amazing. Okay, I was
Fast.
just wait.
And here, just a beautiful castle. And this clearly.
I have to excuse myself for a minute, so I'm going to play this.
Okay, we were hitting the 30-minute mark, so I was just gonna say it's probably a good time to take it out.
Oh, okay, great. Then I won't have to excuse myself for a minute. We already are at 30 minutes, and I'm sure you can edit this. I'll stop the screen. And I will leave this particular link for people. This lit Ellis Island that I showed during the game the other day, it just blew me away.
Oh, I know. The buildings, they don't, it's like, you're right, they don't belong here. They're like very ancient and, hey, Elsie.
It's just wild. It's seeing the world in a whole different way. Like I've been a zombie, and then suddenly I'm noticing, wow, that looks different. Spencer does it too. We go around yelling mud flood, mud flood. You know, if we see a building that's kind of old, like Slug Bug, the game you used to play in the car when you
Oh,
saw VW, now we yell mud flood.
I do the same thing. I'm looking at things very differently now
Yeah,
because I think a lot of our ancient history did get petrified people,
yeah.
which you kick around as rocks very well could have been somebody's brain or liver, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed that. We kind of got carried away because we both adore that kind of thing. And I will supply the links underneath here and bear with us as we cut things up and so forth. We are going to leave though.
Yes. And thanks for bearing with us because right now we have some sort of 15-minute barrier I'm still confused about. I don't know what that means. YouTube. Are you listening, YouTube? Anyway, but we're gonna edit around it until we can go longer. And I'm glad you stayed with us.
I am too. I appreciate it. We hope that you tell your friends, your enemies, your family, and all that jazz about Oregon, Pennsylvania SOC. And remember, don't clutch pearls.
And stay frosty.